Yes, ma'am.
I do.
It's a Frankenstein parking, right? Miss Esther. This is bullshit.
To assist with quickly entering the park, please place all belongings in the bins on the moving belt and proceed through the metal detector when directed by the security team. Don't forget to collect your...
I can't take
You would be John.
I know. Oh, okay. So cute. Hi, New York neighbors.
What does the M mean? Is it a birthday thing? What's the M mean?
Doggy.
Bye. Bye, Bonnie. Happy birthday, Mr.
Okay, at least fuck up that donut. That's us when we're looking for food. Where are we going?
So for starters, that's amazing. That's awesome. Have any of you guys ridden the Mummy before? Yeah. Did you guys like that one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's your favorite ride. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is Revenge of the Mummy and kind of what went into the creation of the ride. This international curls we've been here like many times, except for a couple of us. Do you know about the secret thing in the first room of the Mummy? There's like a hidden golden ET statue in the first room in the treasure room, so you guys will have to look out for that today. It's an extra credit. But I'm Julia. I'm a tour guide here at the park. I do the youth educator program, but I also do the VIP tours and the studio tour, which is pretty fun. Yeah, and my name is Summer. Hello. And I'm also a youth educator facilitator over here, and then I'm a studio tour guide. So we deliver a tour of the studio, which makes our theme park pretty unique. There's a movie studio right here. Okay, we're going to dive into today's program. Does anyone want to read the learning goal and take the learning goal?
I can explain about the scientific method and use and manufacturing experiences.
Amazing. All right, does anyone really know kind of anything about the scientific method? Have you learned about it in school yet? No? Okay, cool. What have you learned about today? It'll be awesome. Yeah. So these are what the questions that we want to keep in mind throughout our lesson here today, and then also when you're going through the attractions. That's what we're all going to do after, well, you are all going to do as Go Ride the Mummy, is why is it important to understand human behavior, and how does understanding the past influence our experiences? How does knowing history, how does that influence our experiences that we're going to be having here in the real world today? We have a video.
Consumer Insights at Universal Orlando Resort. Consumer Insights is sort of just a fancy term or buzzword for market research. So we are the sort of voice of the guest and the potential guest. We measure people's thoughts, beliefs, perceptions about our current park experience. I love this job. It's just a great joy to come in and do research about such a fun topic. So a ride environment like Revenge of the Mummy is dark, it's scary, there's mummies, there's beetles, there's fire, and everyone comes to the table with different perspectives. As you go through the queue, you pay attention to various objects or artifacts, lighting, tone, you pick up on what is the storyline, what is the meaning, what you observe going through that ride, going through the line, and certainly on the vehicle itself is what makes the ride meaningful to you. cultural anthropology, which is somewhat unusual for this field, but not totally out of left field. A lot of people who do market research. Consumer insights are social scientists or have a social science background of some variety. So anthropology is one of the social sciences. Specifically, anthropology is the study of human behavior. So it consists of
Curious
doing a lot of observation with human groups and trying to really figure out why people are the way they are, why they're organized this way, and why they interact with each other this way, why they think what they think. Observation is one of the vital building blocks of the scientific method. And observation is something that not just me as a researcher of whatever subject matter, but multiple other researchers can develop an experiment or design a procedure where we observe the same phenomenon in the same way, and we can independently verify that we're all seeing the same things occur over and over again. Designers are writing universal understanding that we place objects in certain ways and allow you to gather all of the facts and data points you need to really understand what that experience is supposed to be.
My name is Marta Gutierrez. I'm a show set designer here at Universal Creative at Universal Orlando Resort. I grew up in Mexico, and back home there really isn't a big presence of theme parks like there is here. Having the opportunity to come to Orlando and experience the theme parks here, I was really drawn to the storytelling aspect of it. I was fascinated by how the attractions could tell a story in such detailed manner. So I went to school for interior design, and then I was very fortunate to get this job at Universal Creative, and it's really everything that I dreamed of. My job is to create the drawings that are gonna bring our ideas to life. So what I do is a lot of research, a lot of observation, a lot of looking into what will make our story be true to itself and to the theme that we're trying to represent. When it comes to art and science, they really blend as we collaborate, because we need to bring architects, engineers, artists of different types to be able to create experiences like this. So here we are in the Kiefer Bench of the Mummy. This represents an ancient Egyptian tomb. As you can see, everything here supports that story. The paintings, the hieroglyphics, the props, and the walls are distressed, like they were very old, and they were just uncovered from being years and years underground. Because this is a cube, as a design team, we try to create a nice environment for you to wait in, but there's also fun elements that you can play with. You can see this here is an interactive element. If you touch it, it gives a bubble air in a different section of the cube, making it really fun for people that are waiting with you. I think the ultimate dream for any theme park designer is to see the guests experience what we design, and just coming out of it with such joy and having had a great time.
So it's kind of cool that video shows us that no matter what you're passionate about right now, whatever you're learning about in school, you can combine those two and make a career out of it, which is pretty awesome. And one important thing that we're probably going to be learning in school at some point is the scientific method. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today.
I think we asked this before. Are we familiar with the scientific method? No? That's okay. So the science, we're just going to go real quickly over what the scientific method is. So the scientific method is what all scientists use to create their experiments. So first we're going to define the problem of what we're trying to make our experiment for. Let's say if we were trying to figure out if an orange is going to sink or float in water. It's going to be our problem. Is this orange going to sink or float? Form a hypothesis. What do we think is going to happen if we drop an orange in water? I personally think it's going to float. That's what I think, just because porous peel that's on the orange. And then we're going to research and collect data. We're going to drop the orange in water, maybe different types of water, and see what's going to happen. And then we're going to do our experiment and see what is going to happen when we do this, when we drop an orange in water. And then we're going to have a conclusion off of this data that we all just collected from doing this experiment. Conclusion, in this case, the orange floats.
You guys probably use the scientific method in your day-to-day life, so I know it's prom season, right? So the problem, I don't have a prom date, oh no, what do I do? you form your hypothesis. Oh, I want Brad to ask me. Now you have to research. Like, let's stalk his Instagram. Let's see what he's got going on. Is he single? So you can ask somebody else. Let's ask our friends. And then you experiment, right? After you collect all that data with your prom proposal, maybe you ask Brad. And then in conclusion, you have a prom date, right? So you guys probably are thinking about this all the time without really knowing that what you're doing is you're conducting experiments as scientists.
And that brings us to observation. The gal in the polka dot top, she was talking about that when she was designing the mummy. Observation may be defined as gathering of information through experience, primarily using the human senses of sight, smell, touch, sound, and taste. What are we observing here? The experiment that we're going to be conducting with the ride that we're going to be designing.
So perception's a little bit different than observations. We can look at the walls around us and we can see all of these drawings, but maybe one in particular really sticks out to you and you perceive it as something really interesting. So it's kind of like your opinion on the stimulus around you. So it's how our brain interprets light, shapes, colors, and patterns that our eyes can see. So everybody's got different perceptions of the world around them. Kind of like with the mummy ride, maybe some of us are like, yeah, that's my favorite ride ever, and some of us are like, that's really scary. We're looking at the same thing, but our brain, has different connotation to it.
Yeah, and that brings us to this optical illusion. So, by a show of hands, who here sees a bunny? Anybody see a bunny? Bunny? One, okay. How many people see a duck? Okay, the majority of us are seeing ducks. How many people are seeing a sideways mermaid?
Sideways mermaid.
I really have to use my imagination to make it a sideways mermaid. But yes, depending on how you look at this can either be a duck or a bunny. So the beak is going to be the ears of the bunny, if you want to be able to see the bunny, and the eye, and then the back of the head is a little nose, and then the other way of looking at it is like a duck, right? Yeah, it's kind of cool. Depending on our perception, we can see two very different images. That's going into perception.
So these are kind of some important things to think about when trying to understand perception and observation. So these are things that can affect your perception: is a person's age, background, education, physical state of health, stress level, viewing position, and distractions, right? So if we're going back to the mummy ride, which we'll do later, we taught this lesson to kids that were probably like 7 years younger than you guys, and most of them were very nervous about it. So it's because they're younger, right? They don't like big, scary things like that yet, like maybe we do. Background, education, maybe you come to the theme park with your family and your mom's really stressed out. She's like, you have a reservation at Tokyo Cafe at 10 o'clock, we're not on time for the mummy, right? She might not have as much fun as you guys. So it's kind of, different things to think about when, understanding the world around you is how different things can come into effect people's perceptions.
So the big theme with the mummy ride is going to ancient Egypt and Egyptology. So we're just going to kind of cover some of those things within ancient Egypt that are going to be themed in this line in the queue for the mummy.
So here we go. This is what ancient Egypt would have looked like. So that's where Mesopotamia was in 1450 BC. Have you guys learned a little bit about Egypt or Egyptology maybe in history class? Yeah, maybe learned about Mayans and stuff. That's cool. It's amazing. Well, this is what it looks like geographically.
And the big way that they had to write in ancient Egypt, it was with hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics, they were alphabets and symbols. Glyph is a single symbol or a picture, and it was used to convey information non-verbally, so without words. Can we think of a way right now that we use to communicate with hieroglyphics? Yeah, what's one way? Emojis! Yeah, right? Sometimes instead of responding with an actual sentence or a word to your friend, you just respond with an emoji. That's really going to express what you're thinking right there. It kind of is a modern way of hieroglyphics that we're using today that were used in ancient Egypt. And these are just some examples that they have of the hieroglyphics that were used by the ancient Egyptians.
So arts and language. Typically, only chosen people called scribes were taught to read and write. So yeah, I mean, basically exactly what it says. Not everybody knew how to read or how to write. They would appoint certain people in their culture, in the world, as the scribes. So when you guys go in the mummy, if anybody wants to sit it out, you can be the scribe for the activity later.
And the way that we knew what each symbol meant, because by the time that we found the tombs, the pyramids, nobody knew what these hieroglyphics meant. And that was not until 1799 when they discovered the Rosetta Stone. Have we learned about the Rosetta Stone in school? This is pretty amazing. It was the stone that they found in 1799, and it was discovered in the Nile Delta. And it pretty much translated what all these ancient languages meant. So before 1799, nobody knew what any of these things meant. So this really was a remarkable thing that happened. So people like Shakespeare, no idea what hieroglyphics meant. Also didn't know that dinosaurs existed. Yeah, kind of blows your mind when you really think of it like that. But so all these hieroglyphics were indecipherable until the Rosetta Stone. So it's a very important part of translating what all these hieroglyphics meant.
So a couple different icons of Egypt culture is the scarab beetle. So you might see this around the queue for the mummy. So what it symbolized was restoration, immortality, and protection. So you might notice that in the ride a little bit, there might be some bugs or scarab beetles. That's like an important icon of Egyptian culture.
Yeah, it makes the beetle a lot less scary. It's like, oh, it was here to protect me.
Right.
That's all it was trying to do. And here's a couple of the gods that were important for the Egyptian people. Horus was the sky god, usually depicted with the head of a falcon, and he was believed to be the protector of the pharaoh. So maybe be on the lookout for him when you're going through the queue.
Then we've got Anubis. So he has the head of a jackal. He was the god of mummification and afterlife and protector of graves.
And here's some of the beliefs that ancient Egyptians, that was a big part of their lives. So a person's life force was departed from the body upon their death. And the life force, it would be lost if it was not preserved. So that's why they did this process of mummification, to make sure that everybody had an afterlife after they were gone.
So the curse of the mummy. It means it's a disturbance of a mummy or disturbance of a mummy or desecrating a tomb would suffer through misfortune, sickness, or even death. So that's how you would be cursed, is if you disturbed this, protected, sacred, mummified soul and didn't allow them to rest well. They would be awoken and they would curse you, right? Yeah, so now that kind of leads us into the ride. So, if you disturb a mummy, if you go through their tomb, if you awake their spirit, there might be a curse happening. So we're about to go explore the tomb of Imhotep, and hopefully you guys won't come back with any curses attached. But
no.
The ride, because when we come back, we're going to enter the tomb on our iPads. And you'll get to explore and kind of answer some questions about what you saw on the ride. So just take it all in, really experience it, look out for some of those icons that we were pointing out earlier, and a personal icon for the Liberty statue, you get extra credit in my brain.
Yeah, we're really going to keep in mind observation, which we talked about in this. So really observe all the things that are making us feel like we are stepping into Imhotep. And all these details that you're going to see, if you do not want to ride, be the scribe, take some notes, because there's going to be a quiz after. You're going to come back and look at the quiz. It's going to be a fun quiz. It's going to be fun. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see us again after you ride the mummy. And so in a moment, we'll let you know when.
Not me.
So, for any of your large backpacks, they all need to stay in this room. Somebody will be here watching after them because you cannot take it on the ride. Just because of the way the seating is, backpacks, no. It has to be something super small, like maybe your phone that can still go in your pocket. There's a little pocket for those things. But everything else, leave it here in the room. Somebody will be here. We'll make sure that it's safe, because you're gonna come back here after you ride the ride.